The air is thinning, your lungs are burning, and you realize the $150 million glass world you're trapped in is slowly killing you. In 1991, 8 people walked into a massive structure in the Arizona desert called Biosphere 2. They sealed the doors, promising to stay inside for 2 years. This wasn't just a science project, it was a practice run for living on Mars. They had a rainforest, an ocean with a coral reef, a savanna, and even a desert. It was the most ambitious ecological experiment in human history. But within months, the dream turned into a high-stakes survival horror story. Imagine trying to build a backup Earth from scratch. That's what John P. Allen and billionaire Ed Bass tried to do. They spent 4 years building a 3-acre glass and steel fortress. It was 100% airtight. Not even a molecule of air could get in or out. To handle the changing pressure inside, they built these massive things called lungs. They were giant expansion chambers that moved up and down so the glass wouldn't literally explode when the sun heated the air. But the real pressure wasn't on the glass, it was on the people inside. Within the first 24 hours, the CO2 levels spiked. The air started feeling heavy. By the time the mission was in full swing, the oxygen levels had plummeted from 21% down to 14.2%. To put that in perspective, that's like living at 17,000 feet on top of a mountain. Your brain starts to fog, you can't sleep, you're constantly gasping for air just to walk across a room. And the insane part? Nobody knew where the oxygen was going. The plants were supposed to be making it. They had a whole rainforest in there, but the oxygen was just vanishing. Scientists were losing their minds trying to solve the mystery. Was it a leak? No, the seal was perfect. Was it the plants? No, they were growing like crazy. It turns out the enemy was the very building itself. The concrete walls were actually absorbing the CO2 before the plants could turn it back into oxygen. At the same time, the soil was packed with too much organic matter. This caused a massive bloom of soil bacteria. These bacteria were literally breathing all the oxygen before the humans could get to it. It was a microscopic war and the humans were losing. But wait, it gets weirder. While the atmosphere was failing, the food situation was even worse. You think you're hungry after skipping lunch? These people were living on a diet of mostly sweet potatoes and beans. They were so hungry they were eyeing each other like a 20-piece McNugget meal that's been sitting out for 3 days. One crew member lost 52 pounds. They spent 90% of their time just trying to grow enough food to not starve. They even had to eat the seeds they were supposed to save for the next year. This is where the pure science started to fall apart. Remember how this was supposed to be a totally closed system? It actually wasn't. Because the oxygen levels got so dangerously low that the crew was literally dying, the management had to make a choice. They secretly pumped in outside oxygen. They also snuck in mechanical carbon scrubbers to suck the CO2 out of the air. The illusion of a self-sustaining Mars colony was officially broken. And when people are starving and can't breathe, they don't exactly become best friends. The crew split into 2 factions that hated each other. They stopped talking. They only interacted when they absolutely had to for work. Living in a giant glass ball with 7 other people sounds like a Mr. Beast video gone wrong, but without the $500,000 prize at the end. It was a psychological pressure cooker. By the time the doors opened in 1993, the media was calling the whole thing a total failure. They called it stunt science and a cultish experiment. But here's the thing that most people get wrong. It wasn't actually a failure. Engineer Bill Dempster and other supporters argue that the failure taught us more about Earth than a success ever could have. Because the seal was so perfect, scientists were able to see exactly how the atmosphere reacts when things go south. They discovered how much concrete can mess with an environment. They learned how soil bacteria are way more powerful than we realized. We literally couldn't have gathered that data any other way. Today, Biosphere 2 is owned by the University of Arizona. It's no longer a closed-off survival experiment. Instead, it's a world-class laboratory for climate change research. They can control the rain in the rainforest or change the acidity of the ocean to see how coral reefs react. It's a giant controllable version of our own planet. So, could we live on Mars today? Based on Biosphere 2, probably not yet. We found out that nature is way too complex to just bottle up. You can't just throw some plants and dirt into a glass box and expect it to work. Every time we try to recreate Earth, we realize how insane the real Earth actually is. It's a perfectly balanced machine that we still don't fully understand. The takeaway here is simple. We don't have a plan B. Biosphere 2 showed us that even with $150 million and the smartest scientists in the world, keeping 8 people alive in a fake Earth is nearly impossible. The real Earth is doing that for 8 billion of us every single day for free. If you want to see what a real alien world looks like, just look at the data coming out of Biosphere 2 today. It's the only place on Earth where we can fast forward the climate to see our own future. Next time you take a deep breath, thank a tree, and maybe thank the concrete for not eating your air. Go check out the University of Arizona's virtual tour of the facility to see the giant lungs for yourself. It'll make your own living room feel a lot bigger.